What's up, guys? Part 3. So, like I said before, once you get all the wiring harness off, all your lines off, you drape it over basically like this. So, you got your injector, connectors, basically everything that runs the engine on this side. You know, your junction block connectors, whatever else that you can't keep connected, you can throw it in the bed of the truck, use it later. One thing I forgot to mention, you want to take the serpentine belt off as well. And you got other connectors dripping off to the side. But this main engine wiring harness holds your glow plug connectors. So you don't have to worry about taking this off and worrying about where it goes next. If you drape everything over, once you start assembling the motor, you drape everything over, everything got its own connector, everything has its own placement, the wires have its own bend to it. You're really not going to mess up on that, especially like injector wiring harnesses and stuff. They're all in their own separate location. It's really self-explanatory. It's really not that difficult. It's just really time consuming. Another thing too is once you get all that out of the way, as you can see right here, you can get to the valve covers. Now, easy. You can change your injectors. You can pull the injector lines. You could pull the injector lines. You could do whatever you want now, once you get all that off and out of the way. Before I get to anything more, there is one thing I want to suggest, especially if you're running a lift pump. These are two brand new fuel lines. Now they're on the low pressure side. Like I said before, obviously you're not going to be running 20-30,000 psi through rubber lines. All these have spring clamps on them. So everybody knows these old lb7s, pretty much all the way up to the LMLs or the LMMs, don't have lift pumps in their truck. So they need the CP3 to make vacuum and suck in. You know, you got a purge pump that sits right here with a filter underneath it, and it gets drawn through into the injection pump and then goes through the common rail system. Well, on these setups, if you're replacing the fuel lines, you could reuse those spring clamps. You don't have to worry about it. But I strongly urge you, if you're running a lift pump, to replace those clamps with compression clamps like these, like for hydraulic hoses and stuff. I like using, you can use any old clamp, it really doesn't matter, but small enough to where you can actually get in there. There's one down there. That's kind of a tight spot to get to. You need like a little special wrench, a little 9/32 wrench to get to that one. Like I said, these all have spring clamps. Not anymore, because I put these compression clamps on here. And like I said, if these blow out, like in my case, filled the whole engine valley up with fuel, and it was pretty much like leaking off the side of the engine and everything. Now, when you are redoing fuel lines, especially on the low pressure side, like I said, if you are running a lift pump, I recommend, even if your hoses aren't broken, I'd recommend replacing those clamps, those whole spring clamps, with regular compression clamps. And you know, you get those at Harbor Freight, you get an assortment of it, they're pretty damn cheap. You could do what you will with them. I didn't run compression clamps on this, so that was part of my problem. I'm only running 8-10 psi on my lift pump, but I got away with it for a little bit, but after a while it doesn't like it. But it'll definitely save you some hassle in the long run. I know a lot of buddies of mine that have lift pumps on their lb7s, LLYs, LBZs, LMLs, even some of the newer L5Ps, and they're running lift pumps on those, even though they come with lift pumps now, the L5Ps. You know, they put an aftermarket lift pump on them, and they're having issues because they're leaking past those little clips. So yeah, just food for thought when you do that. And if you are gonna place them, just get a whole new hose set. And like these ones I got from Dynamite Diesel or Dirty Hooker Diesel, whichever ones you want, but they sell a complete kit. You have 6 hoses. In my case, I'm going to be going through the valve covers and replacing the hardware on that and doing the bolts and all that stuff, and doing the gaskets anyways. So these are all pre-bend. You can cut them to length if you want, but it's really not necessary. Like I said, they are a little tight to get in here, but these 2 ones are your main concern ones. Those are the ones I would put on first before you start taking anything else apart, especially if you're just doing injectors. That way you don't forget. You get those done and get those out of the way. You got all the hose lines, all fuel lines that come off, your fuel, your FICM or injection control module. You got your prime pump with your filter that's got old lines on them. I wouldn't recommend replacing those right away. Right on assembly, you should do that. Yeah, see, here's an example. Spring clamp, just like that, and you can see how rotted that sucker is. That was part of my problem. Then you replace them with these, or hose clamps, whatever you have. These ones were just easy to get to. That one was in the bay, and it was kind of a quick fix for what I had. Like I said, it's really not that hard to do. Just take your time on it. You know where all your wiring is at, where they're going to be. Everything has its own place, especially when you get the pre-made GM hose lines from any aftermarket diesel shop. They're already pre-bent, and you pretty much know where they're going to be. Like I said, those 2 lines in the valley, I would recommend getting replaced if you are replacing them in that route, just to get them out of the way, and do it right away, unless you're taking the whole fuel assembly apart off. But in my case, I'm just going through the valve covers, and that's not the case. I just wanted to do that right away so I wouldn't forget. Like I said, that was part of my problem. And the other fuel lines I'll worry about when I go back in assembly, and I'll show you guys how to do that too. I'll keep you updated on it. If I get any farther tonight, I'm only going to work on it for a couple more hours, maybe get some things cleaned up. I'm not too sure, but I'll keep you updated. So, ready for part 4.